Have you ever come across a car that wasn't the most expensive, wasn't the fastest, but somehow left an unforgettable mark in automotive history? A car that wasn't quite a Cadillac, but still carried that same luxurious essence? If you grew up in the 1980s, or even if you just appreciate classic American cars, you've probably heard about the 1986 Oldsmobile 98. They called it the baby Cadillac. But why? Stay with me until the end of this video, and you'll discover not just why this car earned that nickname, but also why it remains one of the most respected and cherished American sedans of its time. And if you've ever owned one, you might just relive some of the best driving memories of your life. Now, let's step back in time for a moment. A different era of luxury. The mid-1980s were a turning point for American cars. Gone were the days of massive fuel-guzzling V8 land yachts. The oil crisis of the 1970s had forced automakers to rethink size, efficiency, and performance. Yet one thing remained untouched: luxury. Drivers still wanted smooth rides, plush interiors, and a feeling of prestige. And if there was one brand that understood this balance, it was Oldsmobile. By 1986, Oldsmobile wasn't just another brand under General Motors. It had built a reputation for delivering high-quality, comfortable, and innovative cars. The Oldsmobile 98 was proof of that. It wasn't a full-fledged Cadillac, but for many it was just as good, if not better. So, what made it so special? Why did people compare it to a Cadillac? And most importantly, why do car enthusiasts still talk about it today? A car that felt expensive, without the expensive price tag? Let's be honest, not everyone in the 1980s could afford a brand new Cadillac, but many still wanted a car that looked, felt, and drove like one. That's where the Oldsmobile 98 stepped in. It offered nearly all the comfort and refinement of a Cadillac, but at a more reasonable price. The design was pure sophistication. From the outside, the car had a long, sleek body with chrome accents, elegant trim, and a bold front grille that closely resembled a Cadillac DeVille. It had that unmistakable presence. A car that commanded respect on the road. Step inside and you were greeted by plush velour or leather seats, thick carpeting, and a dashboard filled with high-tech features for its time. The digital speedometer, the automatic climate control, even the voice alerts. It all made the Oldsmobile 98 feel like a car from the future. It was a car that made an impression whether you were driving it or just riding in the back seat. The ride that defined comfort now? Let's talk about what really set this car apart. The ride quality. Anyone who has ever driven a well-maintained 1986 Oldsmobile 98 will tell you the same thing. It felt like floating on a cloud. The suspension was tuned for maximum comfort, absorbing bumps and potholes like they didn't exist. The steering? Effortless. The engine? Smooth and quiet. Whether you were driving on city streets or cruising down the highway, the Oldsmobile 98 made every trip feel easy. It wasn't a sports car and it never pretended to be. Instead, it was built for people who wanted a refined, stress-free driving experience. And for those who valued comfort over speed, this car was perfect. A car that stood the test of time. The real measure of a great car isn't just how it performs when it's new, but how well it holds up decades later. And here's the thing. Many 1986 Oldsmobile 98s are still on the road today. That's a testament to their build quality and reliability. Owners loved them because they were durable, easy to maintain, and didn't rely on overly complicated technology that would break down easily. Mechanics appreciated them for the same reason. Parts were accessible, repairs were straightforward, and the engine, a Buick 3.8 LV6, was known for its longevity. This was a car built to last, and that's why even today when you see one on the road, it still turns heads. So why was it called the baby Cadillac? The answer is simple. It looked like a Cadillac, it felt like a Cadillac, it rode like a Cadillac. But it wasn't a Cadillac. It was an Oldsmobile 98, a car that gave people the luxury experience without the Cadillac price tag. And for those who owned one, it wasn't just another car. It was a status symbol. It was a statement. It was proof that you could have elegance and refinement without spending a fortune. Now, this is just the beginning of the story. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into the legacy of Oldsmobile, how it became one of America's most respected brands, and why the 98 played such a crucial role in its success. Luxury in American automobiles was never just about price. It was about prestige, comfort, and the feeling of effortless power. For decades, one brand mastered this balance like no other: Oldsmobile. Long before the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 earned its Baby Cadillac nickname, Oldsmobile had already built a reputation for crafting cars that stood shoulder to shoulder with the finest American luxury vehicles. To truly appreciate why the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was so special, we need to understand where it came from. Oldsmobile wasn't just another division of General Motors. It was one of the oldest and most respected names in the American automotive industry. Founded in 1897, Oldsmobile was a pioneer, known for its engineering innovations and forward-thinking designs. By the mid-20th century, it had positioned itself as a brand that delivered premium quality without the exclusivity or price tag of Cadillac. During the 1950s and 1960s, Oldsmobile was a brand that exuded confidence. It introduced features that were ahead of their time, like the first fully automatic transmission in 1940, known as the Hydra-Matic. It was also the first American automaker to offer a high-compression V8 engine, bringing a new level of power and smoothness to the road. These advancements put Oldsmobile in a unique position. It wasn't just another mid-tier brand, it was one that constantly pushed the limits of automotive technology. By the 1970s, Oldsmobile had firmly secured its place as a luxury contender. The Oldsmobile 98 in particular was its crown jewel. This full-size sedan wasn't built for aggressive performance or flashy appeal. It was designed for comfort, elegance, and an effortless driving experience. It was the kind of car you'd see gliding through suburban neighborhoods, parked in the driveways of well-established professionals who appreciated quiet sophistication over loud extravagance. But then came the 1980s, a time of change for the American auto industry. The gas shortages of the 1970s had forced automakers to rethink their approach. Consumers wanted better fuel efficiency without sacrificing comfort. Oldsmobile needed to adapt, and they did, without losing what made the brand special. The 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was a perfect example of this shift. It was built on GM's C-body platform, shared with Cadillac and Buick, making it smaller and lighter than its predecessors. But here's what made it different. It didn't feel smaller. It retained that classic Oldsmobile ride quality. Smooth, controlled, and whisper quiet. At the heart of this refined driving experience was the Buick 3.8 LV6 engine, a powertrain that would later become legendary for its reliability and performance. Unlike the big V8s of previous generations, this engine was designed to provide the same smooth acceleration but with improved fuel efficiency. And it worked. Drivers loved how effortlessly the Oldsmobile 98 moved, how it glided over the road, and how it delivered a ride experience that was second to none. Inside, it was all about luxury. The seats were thickly padded, offering the kind of comfort that made long drives feel effortless. The digital dashboard, a rarity at the time, gave drivers a sense that they were behind the wheel of something advanced. And then there were the electronic voice alerts, a feature that was both futuristic and practical. It would gently remind you if your door was ajar, your fuel was low, or if anything needed attention. For many, this was the first time they had ever experienced a car that talked to them. But the true magic of the Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just in its features, it was in how it made you feel. This was a car designed for people who had worked hard, who had reached a certain level of success, and who wanted a vehicle that reflected their lifestyle without being excessive. It was elegant but not pretentious, powerful but not wasteful. This balance was what set Oldsmobile apart from Cadillac. While Cadillac catered to those who wanted the absolute pinnacle of luxury, Oldsmobile appealed to those who wanted something more understated, something that carried the same essence but felt more practical. This is precisely why the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 earned the nickname Baby Cadillac. It delivered nearly everything Cadillac did, but in a way that felt more approachable. For years, this approach worked beautifully. Throughout the 1980s, Oldsmobile was thriving, selling hundreds of thousands of units and solidifying itself as one of America's favorite luxury brands. People didn't just buy Oldsmobiles, they stayed loyal to them. It wasn't uncommon to see someone trade in their old 98 for a newer model simply because they loved the experience so much. But here's the real testament to the legacy of Oldsmobile. Many of these cars are still on the road today. Enthusiasts continue to preserve and restore them, recognizing the craftsmanship and engineering that went into every detail. Unlike many cars from the same era that faded into obscurity, the Oldsmobile 98 remains a beloved classic. For those who owned one, the memories are still vivid. The feeling of sinking into those cushioned seats, the soft hum of the V6 engine, the way the car seemed to glide effortlessly over the pavement. It was a car that represented a different era, one where driving was about more than just getting from point A to point B. It was about the experience, the journey, and the pride of owning something built to last. This is why the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 is unforgettable. It wasn't just a car. It was a statement. A symbol of an era when luxury wasn't about excess, but about quality and refinement. A time when Oldsmobile stood as a true competitor in the world of premium automobiles. And for those who had the privilege of owning or driving one, the legacy lives on. Luxury in a car isn't just about plush seats and a quiet cabin. It's about how effortlessly the car moves, how it absorbs the road, and how it makes the driver feel in complete control without effort. The 1986 Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just designed for comfort. It was engineered for it. Every detail of its ride, from the suspension tuning to the engine performance, was carefully crafted to deliver a driving experience that felt refined, effortless, and unmistakably luxurious. At the heart of this smooth ride was GM's C-Buddy platform, a foundation it shared with Cadillac and Buick. This platform was a significant departure from the older, heavier body-on-frame designs that dominated American luxury cars in previous decades. Instead of a separate frame and body, the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 used a unibody construction, making the car lighter, stiffer, and more efficient. This not only improved fuel economy but also enhanced structural integrity, giving the car a more solid feel on the road. But what truly set the Oldsmobile 98 apart was its suspension system. Oldsmobile engineers knew that their buyers weren't looking for tight cornering or aggressive handling. Instead, they wanted a car that floated over the pavement, soaking up bumps and imperfections without disturbing the driver or passengers. To achieve this, the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was fitted with a four-wheel independent suspension, a feature that was more commonly found in high-end European luxury sedans. This setup allowed each wheel to move independently, ensuring that the car glided over rough roads without sending vibrations through the cabin. Another key element of the Oldsmobile 98's ride quality was its advanced shock absorber system. The car was equipped with gas-charged struts which adjusted to road conditions, minimizing body roll and keeping the ride composed even over uneven surfaces. Unlike many other cars of its time that felt either too soft or too stiff, the Oldsmobile 98 struck a perfect balance, offering a ride that was both comfortably cushioned yet surprisingly stable. The power steering system played an equally important role in making the Oldsmobile 98 such a joy to drive. Unlike modern electric power steering, which can sometimes feel artificial, the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 used a hydraulic power-assisted steering system that delivered an incredibly smooth and natural feel. The steering was light yet precise, allowing the driver to maneuver effortlessly, whether parking in tight spaces or cruising down the highway. It was the kind of steering that required minimal effort, making long drives feel less tiring and more enjoyable. Under the hood, the Buick 3.8 LV6 engine was a masterpiece of engineering. This engine was a perfect fit for the Oldsmobile 98 because it provided the right amount of power without unnecessary excess. With 150 horsepower and 200 lb-ft of torque, the car had enough strength to accelerate smoothly, merge onto highways with confidence, and maintain a steady, composed ride at any speed. But what made this engine truly special was its refinement. Unlike some larger V8s that had a rough, unpolished character, the 3.8 LV6 was quiet, vibration-free, and incredibly reliable. Oldsmobile engineers worked hard to minimize engine noise, using extra sound-deadening materials throughout the car's structure. This meant that when you were behind the wheel, you barely heard the engine. It simply hummed in the background, allowing you to focus on the road ahead. The transmission was just as important in maintaining the car's effortless nature. The 4-speed automatic transmission with autodrive was tuned for seamless gear shifts, ensuring that acceleration was always smooth and never jarring. This wasn't a car built for high-performance driving. but it delivered a relaxed, controlled, and steady performance that made every drive feel silky smooth. Inside the cabin, this smooth ride was amplified by the exceptional noise insulation. Engineers went to great lengths to eliminate road noise, using double-sealed doors, thick carpeting, and acoustic glass to create an environment that felt more like a private lounge than an automobile. Even at highway speeds, the Oldsmobile 98 remained eerily quiet, making it one of the most peaceful cars to drive in its class. Every detail, from the aerodynamic design that reduced wind resistance to the soft closed doors that sealed shut with a gentle click, was designed to enhance the feeling of sophistication. Even the placement of the seats contributed to the comfort. Drivers and passengers sat in a position that promoted relaxed posture, with wide, well-padded cushions that made even the longest journeys feel effortless. For many who drove the 1986 Oldsmobile 98, this was the car that redefined what a luxury ride should feel like. It wasn't about speed, aggression, or flashy performance. It was about making driving feel calm, controlled, and beautifully smooth. It was the kind of car you could drive for hours without fatigue, the kind that made every journey feel more like an experience than just another trip from point A to point B. This was why the Oldsmobile 98 was so deeply loved by its owners. It wasn't just another full-size sedan. It was a car that made you feel like you were floating on air, a machine that erased the roughness of the road and replaced it with a luxurious, effortless glide. Even today, those who have had the privilege of driving one remember the feeling. The way the car seemed to effortlessly handle the road, the way it shielded you from outside noise, and the way it made every trip feel like an occasion. This wasn't just engineering, it was craftsmanship. And it's exactly why the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 remains an unforgettable part of automotive history. Stepping inside the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was an experience that immediately set it apart from the average sedan of its time. The moment you opened the door, you were greeted with an environment that felt less like a car interior and more like a high-end lounge on wheels. Everything about the cabin was designed to eliminate stress, enhance comfort, and create a sense of effortless control. From the plush upholstery to the digital displays, every detail reinforced the idea that driving should be a pleasurable experience, not just a necessity. One of the first things that stood out was the seating. The front and rear seats were not just padded, they were thickly cushioned, deeply contoured, and designed to feel like armchairs. The velour fabric was not only soft to the touch, but also breathable, ensuring comfort in both warm and cool weather. Those who opted for the leather-trimmed seats enjoyed an even more premium feel, with the kind of high-quality craftsmanship usually reserved for more expensive luxury cars. The power-juggable front seats were another feature that made the Oldsmobile 98 feel ahead of its time. With just the push of a button, the driver and passenger could fine-tune their seating positions to achieve the perfect level of support and relaxation. This wasn't just a convenience. It was a sign that Oldsmobile understood its buyers. Many owners of the 98 were professionals, retirees, or longtime Oldsmobile loyalists who valued comfort above all else. The ability to customize seating positions with precision made long drives feel effortless, reducing fatigue and ensuring that every journey was as relaxing as possible. The sense of ease extended beyond just the seats. The dashboard layout was a masterpiece of simplicity and innovation. Unlike the cluttered instrument panels found in some luxury cars of the era, the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 featured a clean, well-organized design with an easy-to-read digital display. The digital speedometer, fuel gauge, and trip computer weren't just stylish. They provided a clear, precise, and modern way to interact with the car's vital information. One of the most futuristic features of the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was the electronic voice alert system. This was a time when most cars still relied on traditional warning lights, but Oldsmobile took a different approach. The car spoke to you, delivering gentle reminders like, "Your door is ajar," or "Fuel level is low." It wasn't just a gimmick, it was an early form of driver assistance technology, designed to ensure that nothing was overlooked. It reinforced the idea that the 98 was built not just for luxury, but also for practicality and safety. Beyond the digital advancements, climate control was another area where the Oldsmobile 98 excelled. The automatic temperature control system allowed drivers to set their desired cabin temperature, and the car would adjust accordingly. This wasn't common in most vehicles at the time. But Oldsmobile understood that a true luxury experience meant never having to fiddle with knobs to stay comfortable. And then there was the sound system. In the 1980s, factory-installed car stereos often lacked quality, but Oldsmobile took it to the next level with the Delco/Bose premium sound system. This wasn't just a radio, it was a carefully engineered audio experience designed to deliver rich, deep bass, crisp highs, and a balanced sound stage that made every drive feel like a private concert. Whether you were listening to classic rock, smooth jazz, or even a news broadcast, the audio clarity was second to none. Another thoughtful touch was the tilt and telescoping steering wheel, which allowed the driver to adjust the position to their exact preference. For a car designed with comfort in mind, this was a crucial feature, ensuring that drivers of all sizes could find the perfect ergonomic position for long-distance cruising. Storage was another area where Oldsmobile paid close attention to detail. The center console, glove compartment, and door pockets were all generously sized, allowing drivers and passengers to store personal items with ease. Even the trunk space was impressive, offering more than enough room for luggage, golf clubs, or groceries, making the 98 as practical as it was luxurious. One of the subtle yet significant elements that made the Oldsmobile 98 special was the way the doors closed with a solid, reassuring feel. This was due to carefully engineered door seals and high-quality materials, which not only enhanced sound insulation but also reinforced the feeling of durability. Unlike some cars that had flimsy doors that rattled when closed, the Oldsmobile 98's doors sealed the cabin with a quiet, confident click. A small detail, but one that contributed to the overall experience of quality and refinement. For many owners, the true magic of the Oldsmobile 98 was how all these features worked together in perfect harmony. It wasn't just about having comfortable seats, a quiet ride, or a smooth suspension. It was about how every element combined to create a driving experience that felt effortless, elegant, and deeply satisfying. Even today, those who have had the chance to sit inside a well-preserved 1986 Oldsmobile 98 will instantly recognize what made it special. The soft glow of the digital dashboard, the muted hum of the V6 engine, the cushioned feel of the seats, and the gentle chime of the voice alert system all contribute to a driving experience that is as timeless as it is unforgettable. This wasn't just a car, it was a sanctuary on wheels, a space where drivers and passengers could escape from the outside world, glide effortlessly over the road, and experience a level of comfort that few cars of its time could match. This is why the Oldsmobile 98 remains one of the most beloved American luxury sedans of its era, and why those who owned one still look back on it with nostalgia and admiration. A car's exterior is the first thing people notice. It's the statement, the presence, the personality of the machine. And when it comes to the 1986 Oldsmobile 98, elegance was not just a feature, it was the foundation of its identity. It wasn't trying to be flashy, nor did it rely on aggressive styling to grab attention. Instead, it exuded a quiet confidence, a refined dignity that made it stand out in a world where luxury was often equated with excess. From the moment your eyes land on the Oldsmobile 98, the design speaks for itself. The long, sweeping body lines gave it a stately and commanding presence, making it clear that this was a car built for those who appreciated sophistication. The designers at Oldsmobile understood that true luxury wasn't about following trends. It was about creating something timeless. And that's exactly what they achieved. The front end was a masterpiece of restrained elegance. The squared-off chrome grille, flanked by quad rectangular headlamps, gave the car an unmistakable face. It wasn't overly aggressive, yet it carried a sense of prestige that demanded respect. The chrome accents were tastefully applied, never excessive, but just enough to highlight the car's upscale nature. One of the most defining features of the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was its formal roofline. Unlike sportier sedans with sloping rear ends, the 98 maintained a classic, upright stance, reminiscent of the full-size luxury sedans that had defined American elegance for decades. This was a car that didn't compromise tradition for the sake of modernity. It embraced its heritage while subtly evolving to meet the expectations of a new era. The side profile was where the true grandeur of the car revealed itself. The proportions were near perfect, with a long hood, a spacious cabin, and a trunk that extended gracefully. The subtle body creases ran from front to back, adding just enough visual interest to keep the design from feeling plain. The chrome trim that lined the windows and wheel wells further emphasized the car's upscale nature, ensuring that no matter what angle you looked at it from, the Oldsmobile 98 always looked distinguished. And then there were the wheels. The 1986 Oldsmobile 98 came with elegantly designed wire wheel covers, a nod to the classic luxury sedans of the past. For those who opted for the Brougham package, the wheels were further enhanced with a more intricate pattern, reinforcing the idea that this car was built for those with a taste for refinement. The rear end of the car was just as well thought out as the front. The wide, horizontal taillights stretched across the trunk lid, framed by tasteful chrome trim. Unlike modern cars that rely on excessive badging or oversized branding, the Oldsmobile 98 carried itself with a sense of quiet pride. The Oldsmobile emblem sat at the center of the trunk, understated yet unmistakable. Even the rear bumper was carefully sculpted, designed not just for function but to maintain the seamless flow of the body lines. One of the most overlooked yet critical aspects of the exterior design was the paint quality. Oldsmobile used high-quality lacquer finishes, ensuring that the car maintained its deep, rich shine even after years of exposure to the elements. Unlike some lower-end models that faded or lost their luster over time, a well-maintained Oldsmobile 98 still carries that same mirror-like finish decades later. Another subtle but significant detail was the door handles. Rather than using standard pull handles, Oldsmobile incorporated flush-mount, chrome-accented handles that blended seamlessly into the bodywork. This wasn't just a design choice, it was an example of the careful craftsmanship that went into every aspect of the car. It gave the exterior a clean, uninterrupted flow, reinforcing the sense of sophistication that defined the 98. But the beauty of the Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just in how it looked, it was in how it felt. Closing the doors had a satisfying solidity thanks to well-engineered hinges and tight-fitting seals. Running your hand along the body, you could feel the smooth precision of the panel gaps, a sign of quality that was becoming increasingly rare in the American auto industry at the time. And then there was the Landau vinyl roof option, an unmistakable signature of classic American luxury. This feature, often found on the Brougham models, added an extra layer of distinction. The soft vinyl covering over the rear half of the roof wasn't just about aesthetics. It reinforced the idea that this was a car built for those who valued tradition, elegance, and a touch of formality in their automobile. In a time when many automakers were experimenting with bold, futuristic designs, the Oldsmobile 98 remained a symbol of timeless style. It didn't need to shout for attention. It didn't chase fleeting trends. Instead, it stood firm in its classic, dignified elegance, appealing to those who understood that true luxury is not about excess, but about substance, presence, and lasting appeal. Even today, when you see a well-preserved 1986 Oldsmobile 98 rolling down the road, it still turns heads, not because it's flashy, but because it carries itself with an air of quiet confidence. It's the kind of car that reminds you of a time when luxury meant smooth lines, impeccable craftsmanship, and a sense of understated prestige. For those who owned one, it wasn't just a car, it was a statement, a presence, a piece of automotive history that refused to be forgotten. A luxury car isn't just about how it looks, it's about how it feels when you drive it, the way it glides over the road, the way the engine delivers power without effort. The 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was engineered to provide a ride that was as smooth as silk and as quiet as a whisper. It wasn't designed for high-speed cornering or aggressive acceleration. Instead, it was built for effortless cruising, making every trip, whether short or long, an experience of pure relaxation. The moment you settled into the driver's seat and turned the key, the 3.8-liter V6 engine came to life with a soft, refined hum. Unlike some of its competitors that still relied on large, fuel-hungry V8s, Oldsmobile made the smart choice of equipping the 98 with GM's legendary Buick 3800 V6. This engine wasn't just reliable, it was smooth, efficient, and had just the right amount of power for a luxury sedan. With 150 horsepower and 200 lb-ton of torque, the 98 wasn't built to be a sports car, but it didn't need to be. What made this engine special was its ability to deliver power in a seamless, effortless manner. You never felt like the engine was working hard. It simply provided a steady, quiet surge of acceleration whenever needed. But what truly set the driving experience apart was the 4-speed automatic transmission. This wasn't an ordinary gearbox. It was engineered for one thing: buttery smooth shifts. Unlike some cars of the time that had noticeable jolts between gears, the 98's transmission was nearly imperceptible. It made acceleration feel natural, without any unnecessary drama or harshness. The suspension system played a huge role in making the Oldsmobile 98 one of the most comfortable cars of its time. Equipped with 4-wheel independent suspension, it absorbed bumps, potholes, and road imperfections with ease. The ride was so smooth that it often felt like the car was floating over the pavement rather than rolling on it. This wasn't by accident, it was by design. Oldsmobile engineers fine-tuned the suspension to create a perfect balance between softness and control. It wasn't overly soft to the point of feeling disconnected, nor was it too stiff to make the ride uncomfortable. It was just right, allowing the 98 to handle long highway cruises, city streets, and even rough country roads without any noticeable impact on passenger comfort. The steering was another standout feature. Unlike some luxury cars that had overly heavy steering, the Oldsmobile 98's power-assisted steering was designed to be light and effortless. Maneuvering through tight spaces, making U-turns, or gliding through highway lanes felt completely natural. There was no struggle, no resistance, just pure ease of control. And then, there was the quietness. A true luxury car isn't just about a soft ride. It's about minimizing noise, vibrations, and harshness. Oldsmobile engineers knew this well, which is why the 98 was built with advanced soundproofing materials. The doors were lined with thick insulation, ensuring that wind and road noise stayed outside where they belonged. The floor and roof panels were reinforced with sound-dampening materials, reducing vibrations and creating a serene driving environment. Even the side windows were engineered to block out excessive noise, making sure that passengers could enjoy conversations without raising their voices, even at highway speeds. The result? A cabin that felt like a private sanctuary. Whether driving through busy city streets or cruising down an open highway, the Oldsmobile 98 kept unwanted noise at bay, allowing the driver and passengers to fully enjoy the ride. The braking system was another example of Oldsmobile's commitment to smoothness. The 4-wheel disc brakes, coupled with anti-lock braking technology, optional on certain trims, provided confidence-inspiring stopping power without the sudden jolts found in less refined vehicles. Whether coming to a slow stop at a traffic light or braking suddenly in an emergency, the system was progressive, controlled, and reassuringly smooth. Fuel efficiency was another area where the 98 stood out. While many full-size sedans of the past were notorious for their high fuel consumption, Oldsmobile managed to strike a balance between power and economy. The 3.8-liter V6, paired with the efficient 4-speed automatic transmission, allowed the 98 to achieve respectable fuel economy figures for a car of its class. This made it an excellent choice for long-distance travel, where drivers could enjoy extended highway cruising without constantly worrying about refueling. And let's not forget one of the most defining aspects of driving an Oldsmobile 98, the sense of security. There was something incredibly reassuring about being behind the wheel of a car with this level of substance and solidity. The heavy doors, the well-built frame, the precision in engineering, it all came together to create a car that felt safe and stable at all times. Even in poor weather conditions, the 98 handled with confidence, thanks to its well-balanced weight distribution and carefully tuned suspension. For those who experienced the pleasure of driving a 1986 Oldsmobile 98, the feeling was unforgettable. It wasn't just about getting from point A to point B, it was about the journey itself. It was about the way the car glided effortlessly over the road, the way the engine purred quietly under the hood, the way the suspension absorbed the imperfections of the pavement, and the way the entire experience felt effortless, refined, and dignified. Driving the Oldsmobile 98 wasn't a chore. It was a privilege. It was a car designed for those who valued comfort, elegance, and a touch of old-school American luxury. It was built not just to impress, but to pamper, soothe, and satisfy. And decades later, that experience still lingers in the memories of those who had the pleasure of sitting behind its wheel. Luxury isn't just about how a car looks from the outside or how it drives. It's about the experience inside. It's about stepping into a cabin that feels like a retreat from the world, where every detail is crafted for comfort, convenience, and refinement. The 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was designed with this philosophy in mind, It wasn't just a car, it was a rolling lounge, a place where drivers and passengers alike could relax and enjoy every mile of the journey. The first thing you noticed when you opened the door was the solid feel of the handle and the weight of the door itself. Unlike the flimsy, plastic-heavy interiors of many modern cars, the Oldsmobile 98 greeted you with a sense of substance and quality. The moment you settled into the plush, deep-cushioned seats, it became clear that this car wasn't built for rushing, it was built for enjoying the ride. Oldsmobile understood that comfort starts with seating, and they made sure the 98 delivered some of the finest seats ever put in a luxury sedan. The available plush velour upholstery was incredibly soft to the touch, almost like sitting on a high-end sofa. For those who wanted an even more upscale experience, the optional leather-trimmed seats added an extra layer of sophistication. But regardless of the material, one thing was certain: these seats were designed to pamper, not punish. Both front and rear seats were wide, well-padded, and contoured to provide excellent lumbar support. Unlike modern seats that often prioritize sportiness over comfort, the Oldsmobile 98 seats were made for long-distance cruising. Whether driving for 10 minutes or 10 hours, fatigue was never a concern. The driver's seat was power-judgeable, allowing for precise positioning with the push of a button. Many models even featured power lumbar support, ensuring that every driver could find their perfect level of comfort. And because Oldsmobile knew that passengers deserved just as much luxury, the front passenger seat was also power-judgeable, a rare feature at the time. But the seating wasn't the only thing that made the Oldsmobile 98's interior feel special. The entire dashboard and control layout were designed with ergonomics and elegance in mind. Unlike some luxury cars that cluttered the cabin with excessive buttons and dials, Oldsmobile focused on simplicity and ease of use. The steering wheel was large and cushioned, designed for a relaxed grip rather than aggressive driving. Many models even came with a tilt and telescoping steering column, allowing drivers to adjust the wheel to their perfect position. The instrument cluster was classic yet functional, with large, easy-to-read gauges that provided all the necessary information without unnecessary distractions. The speedometer, fuel gauge, and temperature controls were all placed directly in the driver's line of sight, ensuring effortless monitoring of the car's vital stats. But what truly set the Oldsmobile 98 apart was its commitment to technology and convenience. At a time when many cars still relied on basic AM/FM radios, Oldsmobile equipped the 98 with an advanced sound system that offered cassette tape compatibility, allowing drivers to enjoy their favorite music with crisp, high-quality audio. Some models even featured an optional Delco/Bose premium sound system, delivering rich, immersive sound that made every drive more enjoyable. Climate control was another area where the Oldsmobile 98 excelled. While many cars of the era struggled with inconsistent heating and cooling, the 98 featured automatic climate control, allowing drivers to set their desired temperature and let the car do the rest. The air conditioning was powerful and efficient, capable of keeping the cabin cool even on the hottest summer days. And during the winter months, the heater delivered warm air quickly and evenly, ensuring that every passenger remained comfortable no matter the weather. Storage and practicality were also well thought out. The center console and glove compartment provided ample space for personal items, while the door pockets and rear armrest compartments offered additional storage solutions. The trunk was massive, capable of holding luggage, groceries, or even golf clubs with ease. This wasn't just a luxury sedan, it was a car built for real-world usability. One of the most underrated aspects of the Oldsmobile 98's interior was the attention to detail. The wood grain trim, whether real or simulated, added a sense of warmth and sophistication. The chrome accents were tastefully applied, never overdone but just enough to highlight the car's premium nature. The padded door panels and soft-touch materials throughout the cabin reinforced the idea that this was a car designed to be experienced, not just driven. And then there was the quietness. Oldsmobile engineers went to great lengths to ensure that the 98's cabin was one of the quietest in its class. Thick carpeting and insulation absorbed road noise, while the triple-sealed doors prevented wind from sneaking into the cabin. Even at highway speeds, the interior remained serene and peaceful, allowing conversations to take place in a normal, relaxed tone, a feature that older drivers especially appreciated. For rear-seat passengers, the experience was just as luxurious. The spacious legroom and wide bench seat made long journeys feel effortless. Unlike some modern sedans that prioritize front seat comfort at the expense of rear passengers, the Oldsmobile 98 ensured that everyone in the car enjoyed first-class treatment. The rear armrest folded down to provide additional comfort, and some models even featured rear seat reading lamps, allowing passengers to enjoy a book or newspaper without disturbing others. It was small touches like these that made the Oldsmobile 98 feel like a true luxury experience, rather than just another car. Every aspect of the interior was designed with comfort, convenience, and refinement in mind. It wasn't about overwhelming the driver with unnecessary features. It was about creating a space where everything felt just right. From the moment you stepped inside, it was clear that the Oldsmobile 98 was built for those who valued true luxury, not just the illusion of it. Even today, sitting inside a well-preserved 1986 Oldsmobile 98 brings back memories of an era when cars were built to last, built to comfort, and built to be driven with pride. It wasn't just transportation, it was an experience, a statement, and a legacy of American luxury done right. A luxury car isn't just about looks or interior comfort. It's about how it glides across the road. It's about the feeling of effortless motion, where every bump, every imperfection in the pavement seems to disappear beneath you. The 1986 Oldsmobile 98 delivered exactly that. A ride so smooth, so refined, that it felt like floating on air. The moment you settled into the driver's seat and turned the ignition, the first thing you noticed was the quietness. The 3.8-liter Buick V6 engine under the hood wasn't just built for power, it was built for whisper-quiet operation. Unlike modern engines that emphasize raw aggression, this engine purred with a low, refined hum. Never intrusive, never harsh. It was the kind of car that let you hear yourself think, enjoy a peaceful conversation, or simply take in the journey ahead without distractions. One of the biggest engineering triumphs of the Oldsmobile 98 was its suspension system. Oldsmobile understood that true luxury meant isolating passengers from the harshness of the road, and they did this with a carefully designed four-wheel independent suspension. Every element was tuned to absorb shocks and vibrations, ensuring that even the roughest roads felt surprisingly gentle. The front suspension used McPherson struts, a system known for its balance between comfort and control. In the rear, Oldsmobile implemented a semi-independent torsion beam setup, which further softened the ride without compromising stability. The result? A car that could glide over potholes, expansion joints, and uneven pavement without transmitting the harshness to the cabin. It was the kind of engineering that made long drives effortless, rather than exhausting. But smoothness wasn't just about the suspension, it was about how the car handled itself on the road. Unlike some luxury cars that felt overly soft and disconnected, the Oldsmobile 98 struck the perfect balance between comfort and control. The power-assisted steering was light but precise, giving the driver just enough road feel to maintain confidence behind the wheel. At low speeds, maneuvering was effortless, making city driving and parking a breeze despite the car's size. But at highway speeds, the steering firmed up just enough to provide a sense of stability, ensuring that the 98 never felt floaty or uncertain. It was a car designed to inspire confidence, whether cruising down a suburban street or gliding down the interstate. The transmission played a crucial role in the 98's legendary smoothness. Oldsmobile equipped the 98 with a 4-speed automatic transmission with overdrive, ensuring seamless shifts and optimal fuel efficiency. Unlike modern transmissions that sometimes feel hesitant or jerky, this one delivered buttery smooth transitions between gears. Whether accelerating from a stop or merging onto the highway, there was never a harsh shift, just a steady, composed surge of power. And speaking of power, the 3.8-liter V6 was no slouch. Producing 150 horsepower and 200 lb-ft of torque, it wasn't built for high-speed racing. It was built for effortless acceleration. The key to this engine's appeal wasn't just its output, but how it delivered that power. Peak torque arrived at low RPMs, meaning the car had strong pull right from the start, making highway merges and overtaking other cars an easy task. But what truly set the Oldsmobile 98 apart was its ability to make speed feel effortless. In many modern cars, you feel every bit of acceleration, every gear change, every rev of the engine. But in the Oldsmobile 98, the power delivery was so refined and linear that the car seemed to gather speed without you even noticing. One moment you were cruising at 40 miles per hour, and the next you were at 70, without a hint of strain, without a sound of struggle. This effortless cruising ability was further enhanced by the overdrive gear, which allowed the engine to run at lower RPMs at highway speeds. This not only improved fuel efficiency but also made for a whisper-quiet highway ride, free from excessive engine noise. The quietness of the drive was also thanks to extensive soundproofing. Oldsmobile engineers went to great lengths to ensure that road noise, wind noise, and engine noise were kept to an absolute minimum. Thick acoustic insulation was placed throughout the cabin, while special door seals prevented air from sneaking in at high speeds. The result? A car that felt as silent at 70 miles per hour as it did at 30. Braking was another area where the Oldsmobile 98 excelled. Unlike some luxury cars that focused solely on comfort and neglected stopping power, the 98 was equipped with power-assisted disc brakes in the front and drum brakes in the rear. This setup provided strong, predictable stopping performance, ensuring that the car could slow down smoothly and safely under any condition. For those who drove in regions with harsh winters, the rear-wheel drive layout was paired with excellent weight distribution, making the car surprisingly stable even on icy roads. And with an optional traction control system, the Oldsmobile 98 provided an extra layer of confidence for drivers facing challenging weather conditions. But perhaps the most remarkable part of the driving experience was the sheer sense of relaxation it provided. In an era where many cars were becoming stiffer and sportier, the Oldsmobile 98 stayed true to its mission of providing a stress-free, serene driving experience. It was a car built for long, leisurely cruises, where the journey itself was as enjoyable as the destination. Whether you were commuting to work, taking a road trip, or just running errands around town, the Oldsmobile 98 made every drive feel special. Even today, when you get behind the wheel of a well-preserved Oldsmobile 98, you immediately understand why this car earned the nickname Baby Cadillac. It wasn't just about the looks or the luxury. It was about the way it moved, the way it carried itself with grace and dignity. For those who appreciate the lost art of smooth, effortless driving, the Oldsmobile 98 remains unforgettable. It was a car designed not just to get you to your destination, but to make the journey itself feel like an event worth savoring. Stepping inside the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 was an experience in itself. This wasn't just a car, it was a moving sanctuary of comfort and class. Everything about the cabin was designed to cocoon the driver and passengers in luxury, making every journey feel like a first-class ride. The first thing you noticed was the plush seating. Unlike the firm, bolstered seats found in many modern luxury cars, the Oldsmobile 98 seats were designed for pure relaxation. Covered in rich velour or optional premium leather, they were thickly padded and sumptuously soft, offering a level of comfort few cars could match. The front seats weren't just comfortable, they were power adjustable with 6-way controls, allowing drivers to find the perfect position with just the push of a button. And the back seat? It felt more like a luxury sofa than a car seat, offering ample space to stretch out and enjoy the ride. Oldsmobile understood that true luxury wasn't just about soft seats. It was about creating an atmosphere of effortless ease. That's why the 98 Regency Brougham trim level came with a pillow-top seat design, giving passengers an extra layer of plushness. It was the kind of car where you didn't just sit, you sank into comfort. But seating was just the beginning. The dashboard and door panels were adorned with simulated wood grain trim, adding a touch of classic elegance. Unlike today's glossy, plastic-heavy interiors, the Oldsmobile 98 had a cabin that felt warm, inviting, and timeless. Every detail, from the chrome-accented controls to the soft-touch materials, was carefully crafted to enhance the sense of refinement. The steering wheel was another testament to Oldsmobile's focus on luxury. Wrapped in soft leather, it felt substantial yet effortless to grip. And right behind it was the electronic digital dashboard, a feature that was ahead of its time in 1986. Instead of traditional analog gauges, drivers were greeted with a futuristic digital speedometer and fuel readout, giving the car a high-tech feel that few competitors could match. Convenience was another hallmark of the Oldsmobile 98. Unlike some luxury cars that sacrificed practicality for aesthetics, this car was designed to make driving easier and more enjoyable. The automatic climate control system ensured that the cabin temperature stayed exactly where you wanted it, without the need for constant adjustments. And with a whisper-quiet HVAC system, warm air or cool breezes flowed through the cabin without intrusive noise. For long road trips, nothing compared to the premium Delco GM/Bose sound system. This wasn't just any stereo, it was a high-fidelity audio experience designed for true music lovers. Whether you were listening to smooth jazz, classic rock, or golden oldies, the sound was rich, deep, and crystal clear. The system featured AM/FM radio, a cassette player, and optional equalizer controls, allowing drivers to fine-tune their listening experience. Storage was another area where the Oldsmobile 98 excelled. The center console provided ample space for essentials, while the glove compartment and door pockets offered plenty of room for maps, sunglasses, and other necessities. The trunk was exceptionally spacious, providing more than enough room for luggage, golf bags, or even a full set of groceries without compromising passenger comfort. Luxury wasn't just about how the car looked or felt. It was also about how it functioned. That's why Oldsmobile equipped the 98 with power everything. Power windows, power door locks, power mirrors. It was all there, ensuring that drivers and passengers could adjust their surroundings with minimal effort. One of the standout features of the Oldsmobile 98 was the Twilight Sentinel automatic headlight system. This feature allowed the headlights to turn on and off automatically, adjusting to lighting conditions without the driver having to do anything. It was a small detail, but one that added to the car's effortless driving experience. The electronic fuel data panel was another innovation that set this car apart. Located on the dashboard, it provided real-time information on fuel range, mileage, and consumption, allowing drivers to monitor their efficiency with ease. In an era when most cars still relied on basic analog gauges, this feature made the Oldsmobile 98 feel years ahead of its time. But what truly made the interior of the Oldsmobile 98 unforgettable was the sense of space and serenity. Unlike today's cramped, cockpit-style luxury cars, the 98 was designed to be open and airy. The expansive windows allowed for excellent visibility, while the soft suspension and quiet cabin made it a place where stress seemed to melt away. Passengers weren't just along for the ride. They were wrapped in comfort, surrounded by thoughtful design and timeless luxury. It was the kind of car where road trips felt like vacations, and even the daily commute felt like a moment of calm in a hectic world. Decades later, stepping inside a well-preserved Oldsmobile 98 still evokes a sense of nostalgia and admiration. The craftsmanship, the attention to detail, and the dedication to pure, uncompromised comfort make it a true relic of an era when luxury wasn't just about brand names or badge prestige. It was about how a car made you feel. Driving the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just about getting from point A to point B. It was about experiencing effortless motion, where the road felt smoother, the engine felt stronger, and every mile felt like a privilege. This was a car built for comfort and confidence, making it a favorite among those who valued a refined, effortless driving experience. At the heart of this majestic ride was the 3.8-liter V6 engine, part of the legendary Buick 3800 engine family. This wasn't just any engine, it was an engineering marvel, known for its durability, smooth power delivery, and surprising fuel efficiency for a car of this size. It produced 140 horsepower and 200 lb-ft of torque, delivering a refined yet responsive feel. Unlike some engines that needed to be pushed hard to perform, this V6 provided strong low-end torque, meaning you didn't have to work the accelerator to get smooth acceleration. One of the defining traits of this engine was its silky smooth operation. Unlike the rougher, noisier V8s of the past, this V6 was remarkably quiet and refined, enhancing the Oldsmobile 98's reputation as a luxury cruiser. When you pressed the gas, there was no sudden jerk, no aggressive roar, just a steady, composed surge of power that made highway cruising effortless. Mated to this engine was the 4-speed automatic transmission with overdrive, a feature that made long-distance driving far more enjoyable. The overdrive gear helped reduce engine strain at high speeds, improving both fuel economy and ride smoothness. Whether you were rolling down the highway or navigating city streets, the transmission shifted seamlessly, without hesitation or harshness. But what truly set the Oldsmobile 98 apart was its ride quality. This wasn't just a car. It was a floating masterpiece, designed to glide over the road rather than feel it. Thanks to the 4-wheel independent suspension and soft coil springs, the 98 delivered a ride that was buttery smooth, absorbing bumps and imperfections effortlessly. While some cars transmitted every road vibration into the cabin, the Oldsmobile 98 seemed to filter out the outside world, leaving you with a quiet, serene driving experience. Another factor that made the driving experience unforgettable was the power-assisted steering. Unlike modern electronic steering systems that can feel numb and artificial, the Oldsmobile 98's steering had a perfectly balanced weight. It was light and effortless at low speeds, making parking and maneuvering easy. Yet on the highway, it had enough heft to feel stable and controlled, giving the driver a sense of confidence. Braking was another area where Oldsmobile made sure this car excelled. The power-assisted front disc and rear drum brakes provided consistent stopping power, ensuring that despite its large size, the 98 could come to a smooth, controlled stop without drama. Oldsmobile also offered an optional anti-lock braking system, ABS, an advanced feature for its time that helped prevent wheel lockup in sudden braking situations. Another feature that made this car so enjoyable to drive was its exceptionally quiet cabin. Luxury wasn't just about how the car felt, it was about how it sounded, or rather, how little it let in from the outside world. Oldsmobile engineers went to great lengths to ensure that the cabin remained peaceful no matter the road conditions. This was achieved through thick insulation, well-sealed doors, and a vibration-dampening frame that kept road noise and engine hum to an absolute minimum. Driving an Oldsmobile 98 wasn't about rushing or pushing the car to its limits. It was about enjoying the journey, feeling the road beneath you without being disturbed by it. The suspension, the power delivery, the quiet cabin, it all came together to create a stress-free, enjoyable ride. It was the kind of car where you could take your hands off the wheel for a moment and just appreciate the effortless way it carried you forward. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a soft luxury cruiser with no road presence. The Oldsmobile 98 had a commanding feel, with a solid planted stance that made it feel secure and steady at all speeds. Whether you were driving through the city or cruising on the highway, the car had a dignified presence, making every drive feel like something special. Another overlooked but important part of the driving experience was visibility. In contrast to many modern cars with thick pillars and small windows, the Oldsmobile 98 had large, expansive glass surfaces, offering excellent visibility from all angles. This made the car easier to maneuver, whether parking in a tight space or navigating traffic. The large side mirrors further enhanced awareness, making lane changes feel safe and controlled. The final touch that made driving the Oldsmobile 98 so unique was the way it connected with the driver. This wasn't just a car you operated, it was a car you became one with. Everything from the perfectly cushioned ride to the effortless controls made you feel like you were gliding, not just driving. It had a personality, a sense of elegance and poise that so many modern cars simply don't have. This was why the Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just a car, it was an experience. A rolling testament to an era of true American luxury. It wasn't about speed or flash or aggressive performance. It was about effortless elegance, about making every drive feel like a moment of peace and indulgence. Even decades later, those lucky enough to drive a well-preserved Oldsmobile 98 immediately understand why it was so beloved. It wasn't just the features, the power, or the comfort. It was the feeling it gave you. A feeling of being in complete control, yet completely at ease. A feeling that, once experienced, was impossible to forget. Slipping behind the wheel of the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just about transportation. It was about experiencing a ride designed for pure comfort and effortless cruising. Everything about this car, from the way it accelerated to the way it handled, was engineered to provide a smooth, quiet, and controlled driving experience. The heart of the Oldsmobile 98 was its 3.8-liter Buick V6 engine, also known as the 3800 Series I. This wasn't just any engine, it was one of the most reliable and respected power plants General Motors ever produced. With 150 horsepower and 200 lb-ft of torque, it wasn't a performance beast, but that wasn't the point. What made this engine special was its exceptional smoothness, efficiency, and durability. It delivered instant throttle response, making acceleration feel effortless, whether merging onto the highway or passing slower traffic. But what really set this engine apart was its legendary reputation for reliability. The 3800 V6 was known to easily surpass 200,000 miles with minimal maintenance, making it a favorite among car owners who valued longevity. Unlike some engines of the era that required constant tuning, the 3.8-liter V6 was built to last, with fuel injection technology ensuring consistent power delivery and improved fuel economy. Connected to this refined power plant was a 4-speed automatic transmission designed to provide seamless gear shifts without any harsh jolts. Unlike some luxury cars that had sluggish transmissions, the Oldsmobile 98's 4T60 automatic gearbox was responsive and smooth, adapting effortlessly to driving conditions. It made sure that every drive felt fluid and controlled, whether navigating city streets or cruising on the open highway. One of the most remarkable things about driving the Oldsmobile 98 was how quiet it was. Engineers at Oldsmobile had gone to great lengths to minimize road noise, wind noise, and engine vibrations. This wasn't just a car, it was a sanctuary on wheels. The triple door seals, extra insulation, and acoustically tuned cabin ensured that the outside world remained exactly where it belonged, outside. The suspension system played a huge role in making the ride feel like a floating cloud. The Oldsmobile 98 was equipped with a fully independent suspension with coil springs designed to absorb road imperfections effortlessly. Whether driving over potholes, uneven pavement, or long highway stretches, the car glided over surfaces with grace, keeping passengers comfortable at all times. Unlike sportier sedans that prioritized tight handling, the Oldsmobile 98 focused on delivering a luxurious, cushioned ride, something that older drivers especially appreciated. Steering was another area where the car excelled. The speed-sensitive power steering system made maneuvering incredibly easy. At low speeds, it was light and effortless, making parking and slow turns a breeze. But as speed increased, the steering became more firm and controlled, ensuring stability on the highway. It was the perfect balance between comfort and confidence, making long-distance drives feel relaxing rather than exhausting. Braking was equally refined. The four-wheel disc brakes, with an anti-lock braking system, ABS, provided strong, predictable stopping power. Unlike older luxury sedans that had soft, spongy brakes, the Oldsmobile 98 had a well-tuned braking system that delivered consistent, reassuring deceleration. Whether slowing down for a red light or making an emergency stop, the brakes responded instantly without unsettling the car's balance. Fuel economy was another surprising advantage. Despite its size and luxury features, the Oldsmobile 98 was surprisingly efficient for its class. Thanks to electronic fuel injection and a lightweight unibody construction, the car was capable of achieving around 18 miles per gallon in the city and up to 27 miles per gallon on the highway. For a full-size American luxury sedan from the 1980s, these numbers were impressive. Long road trips in this car were an absolute joy. The combination of comfortable seating, a whisper-quiet cabin, and effortless cruising made it a car that encouraged drivers to stay on the road longer. It was the kind of vehicle that made you want to take the scenic route just to enjoy the ride a little more. And let's not forget about the advanced features that made driving even more effortless. The cruise control system allowed drivers to maintain a steady speed on long highway stretches without constantly adjusting the accelerator. It wasn't just a convenience, it was a game changer for anyone who spent hours behind the wheel. Another standout feature was the electronic level control, ELC suspension system. This system automatically adjusted the rear suspension based on passenger load and cargo weight, ensuring that the ride remained perfectly balanced at all times. This meant that even when the car was fully loaded with passengers and luggage, it still handled with grace and stability. Despite its large size, the Oldsmobile 98 was surprisingly easy to drive. Unlike some of the massive luxury cars of the past that felt like boats on the road, the 98 had just the right proportions. Big enough to feel commanding and comfortable, yet agile enough to handle daily driving with ease. Perhaps the greatest testament to its driving experience is the fact that so many owners still have fond memories of how effortlessly this car cruised down the highway. The combination of refined engineering, attention to comfort, and innovative features made it a pleasure to drive, even by today's standards. Owning an Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just about having a car, it was about enjoying the journey, mile after mile, in a machine built for smoothness, reliability, and timeless luck. Step inside the 1986 Oldsmobile 98, and you are immediately greeted by an environment that feels more like a luxurious lounge than a car interior. This wasn't just another American sedan. It was a vehicle that prioritized comfort, elegance, and a sense of prestige. Every detail inside the cabin was designed to make the driver and passengers feel relaxed and at ease, no matter how long the journey. One of the first things that stood out was the seating. Oldsmobile didn't just throw in standard car seats, they crafted deep, plush, velour-upholstered armchairs that felt more like living room furniture than automotive seating. The moment you sat down, you could feel the generous padding and supportive cushioning that made long-distance cruising an absolute pleasure. Unlike modern cars that often prioritize sportiness over comfort, the Oldsmobile 98 was designed for relaxation. The seats were wide, with ample legroom and soft armrests, making it easy to settle in and enjoy the ride. For those who preferred something even more upscale, optional leather upholstery was available. Unlike today's stiff and firm leather, the leather in the Oldsmobile 98 was buttery soft and supple, aging gracefully over time. It added a level of classic sophistication, giving the interior a sense of quiet luxury that few cars of the era could match. Perhaps one of the most remarkable features was the power-adjustable seating. Unlike many other cars of the 1980s, where seat adjustments were limited to basic forward and backward movements, the Oldsmobile 98 offered 6-way power-adjustable front seats. This meant that finding the perfect driving position was effortless. With just the push of a button, drivers could fine-tune their seat position for maximum comfort. Another signature touch was the padded button-tuft door panels. Unlike today's minimalist designs, the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 embraced rich textures and intricate detailing. The door panels were covered in luxurious fabric or leather, with real wood grain accents adding an extra layer of sophistication. The designers wanted to ensure that every surface you touched felt premium, and they succeeded. Then there was the dashboard, a masterpiece of 1980s automotive luxury. Instead of the sterile, plastic-heavy dashboard seen in economy cars, the Oldsmobile 98 featured a sweeping wood-trimmed dash that exuded elegance. The instrument cluster was large and easy to read, with clear analog gauges providing essential driving information. The speedometer, fuel gauge, and temperature readouts were all backlit with soft illumination, making them visible at a glance, day or night. One of the standout features was the electronic climate control system. Unlike basic fan dials found in many other cars of the era, the Oldsmobile 98 allowed drivers to set a precise temperature, and the system would automatically maintain it. This meant that whether it was a scorching summer day or a chilly winter morning, the interior remained at the perfect temperature without constant adjustments. The steering wheel itself was a work of art. Unlike the plain, uninspired designs of many modern cars, the Oldsmobile 98 steering wheel was elegantly trimmed, featuring a padded center section with the iconic Oldsmobile logo proudly displayed. More importantly, it was effortlessly light to the touch, thanks to the power-assisted steering system that made maneuvering this full-sized luxury sedan feel like a breeze. Technology was also a key part of the experience. The Delco GM Premium sound system delivered rich, clear audio quality, making every drive a pleasure for music lovers. Unlike today's digital screens, the Oldsmobile 98 had a classic AM/FM stereo with a cassette deck, allowing owners to enjoy their favorite tunes with warm, analog sound quality. The optional Bose speaker system took things to another level, filling the cabin with deep bass and crystal-clear highs, a rarity in luxury cars of the time. Another small but meaningful detail was the digital clock embedded in the dashboard. Unlike modern digital displays that can be overly bright or distracting, the Oldsmobile 98's clock was tastefully integrated, with a soft green glow that matched the rest of the instrumentation. It was a subtle reminder that time moves at a different pace when you're inside a car built for comfort. Storage compartments were another area where the Oldsmobile 98 excelled. The center armrest between the front seats featured a deep, padded storage console, perfect for keeping essentials like sunglasses, maps, or even a small notebook. The glove box was spacious and lined with felt, ensuring that delicate items wouldn't get scratched or damaged. Even the door pockets were designed with practicality in mind, offering ample space for documents or small items. For backseat passengers, comfort was just as much of a priority. The rear bench seat was generously padded with an extra-wide design that allowed 3 adults to sit comfortably. There was no compromise on legroom. Passengers had plenty of space to stretch out, making long journeys enjoyable rather than exhausting. The rear reading lamps and individual ashtrays were small but thoughtful touches, catering to an era when luxury meant catering to every passenger's needs. And let's not forget the power windows and locks, features that weren't always standard on cars of the 1980s. With the simple press of a button, drivers and passengers could adjust their windows without any effort. The power locks provided added security and convenience, ensuring that all doors could be locked with a single press. Owning an Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just about having a car, it was about having a rolling sanctuary, a place where luxury met practicality in perfect harmony. Every inch of the cabin was designed to wrap passengers in comfort, reminding them that this wasn't just a vehicle, it was an experience. Driving the 1986 Oldsmobile 98 wasn't just about getting from point A to point B. It was about floating down the road in absolute comfort. This was a car built for those who appreciated smoothness, effortless power, and the kind of ride quality that made every journey feel like a first-class experience. It was no surprise that many Oldsmobile 98 owners from the 1980s still